Hello, and welcome to another episode of This, That, and the Other. Today I'm going to be discussing something that I ran across when I was going through things. It was rules and regulations for Roth theaters when I used to work there, Roth Tyson's 5, and later became Roth Tyson's 8 when it expanded in 1983. I ran across this, and I don't think too many people that work there still have this. I happened to save it, but after Mark Madison took over as manager, he had this thing typed up, I guess, on the computer, put in a portfolio like this, and another thing about guide and Roth theaters rules and regulations. It basically was handed out to people that work there, and I thought I'd go ahead and go over it, read it, and do a little commentary on it as it applied to what went on there. Be interesting for people that work there, or even for people that are interested in just knowing what the work environment was like 30 years ago. All right, the Craters User's Guide. I think the popcorn popper, some of us Crater, I have no idea, Craters, but anyway, CRETORS, and outline. He has an outline here, and starts with preparation. Fill corn drawer with kernels. Fill salt box, hang on inside edge of corn drawer. Yeah, there was a big metal container that had salt and popcorn salt in it, not iodized, but popcorn salt, and it would pour it onto the popcorn when you popped it. And personally, I thought too much of that salt was always put in the popcorn. I'd see people pouring that in when they'd make it, and I thought it was too much salt. Open pail, place pump into oil, connect oil and electric lines. Oil line is not connected until solid click is heard. Don't remember that. Electrical connection has 4-wire plus that can only be plussed in one way. Rotate plus until it fits in. I don't remember that part either. Turn on heat timer to melt oil if oil is solid. Well, most of the time during the summer it wouldn't be solid because the place was hot, but during the winter it would be like frozen solid. And they came up with this other thing, I guess like a heating iron. It was you plug it in, and it's a big metal thing. You put it in there, it would melt the oil. It was actually dangerous if you weren't careful, didn't handle the thing right. Although I don't remember anybody at the theater ever getting hurt on it. But turn on heat timer to melt oil if oil is okay. I think I covered that part. When oil is melted, apply pressure to the pump carefully to deliver oil. 11 ounces of oil to the pan. Wow, Mark even measured that. I wouldn't have even known that one. Number 2 on the outlines, the operation. Turn on kettle, lights, agitator, conditioner, fan, and pump. Fill corn measure with corn and salt, and pour in kettle. I don't remember there being a measurer for salt. There may have been. Immediately push oil pump button and lower kettle lid. Make sure oil has entered kettle. You definitely didn't want to get the kettle too hot before you put the oil in. That thing caught on fire a couple of times, and I remember one time Davis pulled the fire extinguisher out of the projections booth and was looking at the instructions, trying to figure out how to use the thing when that happened one time. Immediately push oil button and lower kettle lid. I may have covered that one. Check to make sure oil has entered kettle. Okay. After corn is completed popping, dump popper pan by lifting handles on the right. Popping cycle should be 2.5 to 2 3/4 minutes. I mean, Mark really got scientific about this stuff. Do not bang the kettle unnecessarily. I don't remember anybody ever banging it, to tell you the truth. Do not leave the kettle heat on when not popping corn. Yeah, you definitely didn't want to do that, or you would have had smoke all over the lobby. There were situations where it would get busy, and people in the concession stand would forget to dump the popcorn, and smoke would get all over the lobby, and popcorn would burn. But if you also finished your popcorn, poured it out, and you didn't turn the heat off, you would have smoke all over the lobby. Wipe outside of kettle after each popping to remove oil splatter before it has a chance to burn. Actually, I don't remember anybody ever doing that. I wouldn't have actually recommended that, because you that kettle is very hot. You could burn yourself doing that. And number 3 in the outline is a cleaning cabinet, inside outside of glass cabinet, and cabinet base should be wiped thoroughly with glass cleaner. Popper case bottom, remove to clean any debris that has settled in the air chamber below. Wipe popper case bottom with glass cleaner or flush with hot water. Old maid screen, I don't remember it ever being called that, but I do remember the screen they're talking about. It had a lot of popcorn debris and salt in it. Remove and wipe with glass cleaner or flush with hot water. I should take it into the janitor's closet and just run hot water over it to get it clean. Scrap drawer, that was the kernels that didn't pop. It should sift it through, and popcorn debris as well. Remove and slide under hot air well, then pull out and brush off side of scraps will fall in the scrap drawer. When I cleaned that drawer, I also took that thing into the janitor's closet and just ran hot water over it and cleaned it. Kettle, always wipe kettle while still warm from last popping. Never use abrasives or steel wool to clean kettle. Yeah, I don't remember anybody ever doing that. Pump, mix a 4th package of CKC in clean oil bucket, fill with hot water. Connect oil lines, tilt kettle in dump position, place container under oil, discharge tube. Cycle pump until oil tubes are clean. Empty soapy water and replace with clean cold water. Rinse until all traces of soap are removed. Dry pump, place in bucket of oil and cycle 2 or 3 times to remove all traces of water from pump. I think when I cleaned that kettle, I basically just took paper towels and water and just cleaned it that way. I didn't use any soap or anything like that. Never pull on electric cord connected to the receptacle. That was basically the information on the user's guide for the popper. And now the Roth Tyson's Corner 8 Theaters rules and regulations for everybody. Mark gave this to us during an employee meeting. There is to be absolutely no eating, drinking, or smoking while on duty. Employees of this theater will confine the above to the employee lounge while on break. Some of these words are misspelled, so that's why it's taking me a little time to read them. We had an employee lounge briefly. That people weren't keeping the thing clean, so they finally turned the thing into a storage area. That used to be the manager's office when it was 5 theaters, and when it was 8, the manager's offices were moved to the other side of the theater. You are not to use the public telephone while on duty. You should not receive calls on the business phone except in an emergency. Both those rules were broken all the time. People in the box office were constantly talking to friends, doing personal calls, and personal calls were going on with the payphone in the lobby all the time. At no time will any employee enter the projectionist booth or stand in the doorway to talk to the projectionist. I saw that rule broken too. And projectionists were supposed to stay in the booth when movie was on. A lot of times they'd be outside flirting with the concessionist girls in the concession stand. Do not talk loudly or create any disturbance which may interfere with the customer's enjoyment of their film. Do not sit on the floor or standy trash cans. All employees will wear black pants or girls' skirts, clean white shirt, a white collar, black shoes, and bow tie. Yeah, I remember those bow ties. I used to, when I'd go on break, take that thing off. I didn't want people to see me with that thing on. And in the mall, I always hated that thing. When I first started working there in 1979, the ushers wore these red blazers with the white shirts and bow ties, black pants. The girls wore these ugly-looking smocks that were red, blue, and yellow. I think I still would like for somebody to send me a picture, a color picture of those smocks, so I could put on the Roth Theaters Facebook page. Anybody out there that has one that they can send to me, I would appreciate it. Your vest must be clean and buttoned while you're on duty. Make sure your overall appearance is neat. After it turned to 8 theaters, they came up with the black vests. That's everybody worked there. The concessionist, box office people, ushers all wore those. If you are not wearing your name tag while on duty, you're out of uniform. Your hair is to be cut and well groomed. Well, some of the guys that didn't do that. Some of them would come to work with like two or 3 days growth of facial hair too. I remember that. You may not play video games while on duty. You do not stand around the video machines or concession stands unless is in the line of duty. Yeah, sometimes kids would try to sneak up there and play video games or We had the pinball machine. It was 5 theaters, and this one boy was playing it, and I told him to finish the game and leave, and the kid started another game, so I pulled the plug on the machine, just told him get out of here. All right, the weekly schedule. The schedule will be postponed on Wednesday afternoon, 2 days before it takes effect. It is your responsibility to know your schedule, check it daily. If you miss a scheduled shift without contacting a member of the management staff, your employment is automatically terminated without notice. Nowadays, usually people get written up a couple of times. I think like 3rd write-ups leads to termination. If you require some time off, pick up a time off request slip and return it to the request envelope before close Monday night. All information on the time off slip must be completed in order to give you your request proper consideration. We used to have to put down reason for requesting a time off too. I remember one guy put on there to sleep off a hangover. Individual positions and their responsibilities. Okay, these are the people, the three jobs there, 3 positions. Cashier. At the beginning of the shift, pick up your bank from the office and count it. Once you're sure it's correct, enter the amount into general entries on the computer. I worked in the box office sparingly. I was never a regular cashier. They put me in there when they were short-handed, and I was trained for it. So, but every time I'd get back in there again, I would need a little additional heads up on what to do on things. I don't believe I ever worked in there once they brought the computers in. I worked in there when it was manual. Check the directory boards, terminal cards, and newspaper listings before opening for business to make sure all the information is correct. All cashiers must wear the proper uniforms while they are in the box office. Wherever a show hits the low seating mark, the cashier is to instruct the customer that their seats will probably be in the front 2 or so rows of the theater. Please do not speculate on the quality of these seats and allow customers to decide on their own whether or not they will attend the current show. If it appears they will not, inform them that the next show time and that you can sell them the tickets now. When a performance is sold out, the cashier must announce a sellout several times. The announcement should sound like this: ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? The 7:30 performance of Animal House is sold out. Tickets for the 10 p.m. show performance are on sale now. Thank you. The business phone is to be answered as followed. Good afternoon, or evening, or for that matter. Roth Tyson's 8 theaters. May I help you? Replies, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and completion of call, thank you for calling. Always be kind and courteous toward the patrons. Failure to do so in any circumstances will cost you your job. Do not leave the box office unless you are on break. When you go on break, put your terminal in a locked position and lock your cash drawer. Any drops should be made before you leave. Employees are not to receive calls in the box office on the business phones. All such calls are to be referred to the payphone. Excessive overages and shortages will not be tolerated. All right, concessionaires. I worked that position for a long time. When you start your shift at the beginning of the day, pick up the bank in the office and count it to be sure that it's correct. Check the carbon dioxide and syrup tanks before you open. Change if necessary, get replacement tanks if they are about to run out. I actually would do that the night before, make sure that they're going to be ready for the next day. The CO2 usually didn't run out, and it ran out maybe about every 2 weeks. But I would look at that, and I would look at the soda tanks. I would already have that prepared for the next day if they were going to run out. Last thing I would want opening up is to have my first customer ordered a Coke, and you're out of Coke on the first customer, and I got to go make the customer wait so I can change the tank. That I thought that was wrong. People did that to me a few times. And I thought you got to be prepared at opening. It's embarrassing not to be. Make sure your candy display is correct and that supplies are sufficient to get you through the shift. Pop your popcorn first, because the time prior to opening is limited. You also have a batch popping when customers are coming in. Yeah, it helps sell popcorn, the aroma. I have to admit myself, as a patron, it would help me buy popcorn if I smelled the popcorn. I'd want some. All concessionaires must wear the proper uniform while on duty. This includes your name tag. Use your idle time wisely. Keep yourself busy or we will. And do not lean on the concession counter. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I switched from usher to concession, because usher was so boring. At least in concession stand, I could find things to do, clean stuff. If I got bored, I could clean shelves and the cabinets, whatever. there was always something to do there. I always try to keep it as clean as possible. Nothing on the stand is free or discounted. Anyone suspected of giving away concession items will be fired. Yeah, with Roth, you couldn't bring your own cup and get soda or get free popcorn. I worked for United Artists, and they let you do that. Before any concessionaires go on break, their stand must be clean and stocked. If your stand is not properly prepared when you leave for break, 15 minutes will be deducted from your hours. I don't remember that ever happening to anybody. Always take the time to wipe off the counter while you're in the process of servicing customers. Always count back change to the customer at the completion of each sale. Use the amount tendered key on the register and hand each customer a receipt. Now, that amount tendered key, we used it when we needed to, but I mean, for purpose of getting people through fast. If you were good, if you were good with counting the money and everything, you didn't need the amount tendered key. It was just people that weren't as good with math. Hand each customer a receipt. No, most customers did not want a receipt on the concession stand. I mean, I had available. I'd have some customers say, "Can I have the receipt?" That would happen occasionally, but Mr. Whitehouse always handled a customer a receipt, and it's like, well, they hand it back, and he said, "I don't care what they do with it. Always hand it." That was he was setting his ways on that, and a lot of customers just don't want a receipt. I mean, I wouldn't myself on the concession stand unless it was somewhere it was business expense or something I was going to get reimbursed for it or something like that. If items are mispunched on the register, void the sale and start over. At no time should you try to correct the mistake on a later transaction. Yeah, Mr. Whitehouse in the mornings would come early before the theater would open, and he would go through the detail tapes, and I used to be like, well, "Why'd you void this?" And yeah, I'd hear all that. Always be courteous. A thank you and enjoy the show is a nice touch. Always make sure your personal appearance as well as the stand is neat. There is no eating or drinking behind the stand. If you want popcorn and soda, buy it on your break. People broke that rule too. I used to come in on shifts and see like cups, sometimes like cups from 7-Eleven, Slurpees and stuff that people had brought to work and were drinking. So I mean, people weren't great at following that rule either. I just automatically, if I saw it, I just went right in the trash. Always have a batch of popcorn popping while the show is entering or exiting. Please avoid burning your popcorn. Turn the popper switch off as soon as the kettle lid pops up. The concession stand is never closed. Go your way to make an additional sale. Well, that was kind of up to, that was the concessions basically left that up to their own discretion. For the most part, somebody come like 20 minutes after the stands closed, we're clean. It's like, we're closed. People didn't very often do late sales. You're supposed to, I believe, when you have a late sale, you're supposed to ring it up and put the money in an envelope or something, and it would get rung up the next day, went to the next day's business. If large sums of money accumulate at your stand, discreetly notify a manager as soon as possible. In closing at the end of the evening, count your bank on the back counter or in the closet out of sight. Yeah, all concessions will be required to take inventory at the end of the shift. We did used to do that, and then when I started working for Lowe's later on in the 90s, when it was changed to Lowe's, the managers would do that between the shifts themselves. After mopping the concession stand, empty the bucket in the janitor's closet and rinse out the mop. Discourage employees or visitors from standing at the concession counter. It jeopardizes your job as well as theirs. Okay, the ushers. When you come in for a shift, check the entire theater. Make sure that marquees are correct for the first set of shows. Ushers used to, late at night, get bored and would change stuff on the marquees for fun, to put derogatory things on them, I remember. All glass in the theater must be kept clean at all times. Make sure all areas of the upper and lower lobby are kept clean and swept. The appearance of the theater as a whole should always be immaculate. There should always be an usher in each section of the upper lobby. Do not leave any section unattended. Always check the theaters in your section to see the movies are starting on time. If they are not, inquire with manager or doorman why the picture is delayed. When a theater begins, stand by the doors and open them for incoming patrons. No patron should have to open the door for themselves. Well, I mean, that didn't always happen, depending on how many people you had working. Somebody goes to the restroom in the middle of the movie, and all likelihood not going to be an usher around to open the door for them. I mean, it happens sometimes it didn't. Know where the available seats are before the lights go down, and seat all incoming patrons. It is a doorman's responsibility to see that there is a working flashlight in the drop box. Make regular rounds in theaters in your section and check the temperature in each auditorium. Make sure the temperature is comfortable, the picture is clear, and the sound level is good. Make your presence known. Yeah, I remember doing that. I think we had to write down what the temperatures were in each theater, which was a pain when the movies were sold out, and you had to, and the door, the thermostat had a door on it with a key. You had to unlock it, so you'd have to go take a flashlight, and it would be over somebody sitting down. So I mean, I think that was probably a pain for the patron had to deal with that. And you should be in the vicinity of an exit in your section 15 minutes before it lets out. After each performance, the theaters are to be cleaned and the aisles swept as quickly as possible. Cleaned, and they repeated that sentence 2 times. Do not lean on walls, railings, or any other fixture. Stand up straight and keep yourself busy. After all the performances are started in your section, the upper and lower lobbies must be swept. All trash cans and ashtrays should be emptied. Do not go near the concession stand unless you intend to buy something for your break or you're instructed to do so. Box closing begins when the box office closes and not before. Box closing, that was basically doing a cleanup after the box office closed, going around sweeping and cleaning windows, that kind of stuff. The people got to leave early. Theater closers would stay until the last movie let out, and they would pick up the cups and trash off the floor, and then check the theater, make sure the restrooms were empty and everything prior to leaving, and managers locking the place up. At this time, the upper and lower lobbies must be swept completely. The glass on the front door is cleaned. All trash cans must be emptied, and the lower lobby must be damp mopped. Box office closing will be checked before any ushers sign out. Theater closers must exit and clean each auditorium before the last shows. At the end of the evening, make sure all trash is out of the theater, including the manager's office. Prior to locking any doors, make sure that there are no customers in the theaters, the restrooms, or any place else. All right, doorman. That was a boring position. I would rather work usher and doorman, because you were in the same place all the time. I hated that position. I remember they talking about people standing, leaning against the wall. They said the wall is a good support for the ceiling. Doorman. All doormen should be well informed about any changes in the schedule, late running shows, problems in either the upper or lower lobby, or anything else which might interfere with a small operation of the theater. Keep a current copy of the movie schedule at your drop box. If you do not have one, it's your responsibility to get one. You should also make sure you have all the paperwork and equipment you need before you take over the door. Doorman was kind of like the leader on the floor. They could instruct the ushers to clean something up if it needed to be, and the ushers were supposed to listen to them like as if it was an order coming from management. No one is to be admitted into the theater unless they have a complete and current ticket. All emergency passes and passes in general must be exchanged with a ticket at the box office. Always be courteous. Greet patrons as they come into the theater. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Should follow discussion with the customers. It is a doorman's responsibility to see that ushers are covering exits in their section. It is a doorman's responsibility to see all areas of the theater are clean. Always stand up straight. Do not lean on the drop box. I'd see some doormen do that. They'd get bored and do that. It is a doorman's responsibility to see the temperature of the theater is comfortable. It used to say on the movie schedule, please do not deface this schedule. Well, the doorman would get bored and do that all the time. When box closing begins, bag your tickets, collect your paperwork, and bring them to the office. It is the doorman's responsibility to make sure that everyone signs out before they take their break. You're supposed to sign in and out whenever you enter the theater for anything. Mr. White, I come to get my paycheck. Mr. White is to sign in. It might be for 2 minutes, but you have to sign in for that. Breaks are 15 minutes long. If you come at 4:30, you're allowed 2 15-minute breaks or a half-hour break, time permitting. Actually, I'd work start 6 o'clock, work till maybe like 1:30 in the morning. I only got a 15-minute break. I mean, labor laws now, if you work 6 hours or more, you're supposed to get a 30-minute break. So I don't know back then, what if laws were different or what the deal was with that. I remember John Rose used to say on the staff meetings, employee meetings, The 15-minute break is a privilege, not a right. I remember that. So I guess they were basically saying that they would discontinue breaks if people abuse those breaks. If you worked a double shift, you got an hour dinner break, and you got two 15-minute breaks between each shift. You are to sign out on a doorman's report and sign in when you return. Uniforms must be taken off when you are on break. If you are working a double shift, you are entitled to a 1-hour dinner break. This break must be assigned to you. If breaks, ushers couldn't just go off and disappear for an hour. If breaks are being abused in any way by any individual, they would be eliminated for all. That never happens as far as them being eliminated. Employees will confine their breaks to the following areas: inside the auditorium, the employee room, the game room, outside the theater area. Employees may not take their break on the floor or talk to other employees while on duty. It is the employee's responsibility to see that the employee lounge is kept clean. All right. The doorman, all right, daily theater maintenance. The doorman should, on any shift, by shift basis, monitor the listed items to see if they are in need of cleaning or repair. If something is in need of attention, the doorman should assign an usher to the task. If the problem is such that the usher is not capable of cleaning or repairing the problem, it should be brought to the attention of the management staff as soon as possible by the doorman. Glass windows on video room and games, vinyl walls and baseboards, plastic chains and stands, ashtrays and trash cans, all theater displays, all the lower lobbies, glass windows and doors, auditoriums, doors and one-way windows, auditorium and lobby exit doors, sidewalks, carpeted walls, exit signs and light fixtures, bulbs in the above, water fountains, bathroom mirrors, floors and stalls, stains on walls and other painted surfaces, thermostat covers, janitor's closet, drop box inside and out, public telephones, railings, especially on the ramp, circulation vents, marquees. The box office staff is responsible for cleaning and checking the following areas every shift: box office windows, displays and doors, the shelves and counter, dust on the computers and other electronic equipment, paper supplies and ticket blanks. The concessionaires are responsible that the following areas are checked and cleaned every shift: vinyl surfaces around the stand, all concession displays and price boards, shelves and supply closet. Concessions would get bored late at night too and change the board sometimes, put derogatory terms on those as well. Surfaces of the ice machine and other concession equipment, walls, especially around popper, sinks, dust of grime on and around the carbonator, trash can behind the stand, register cover, baseboards and floor. One of the things with different managers, they check certain things on cleaning. Some of the managers would pull the popper out and make sure you swept under it. John Rose, he was tall. One of the things he would do, unlike the other managers, he'd look. You'd have to clean. I'd clean, make sure the top of the popper was clean, because he was tall and he'd see the top, and he'd say something if those weren't cleaned. Summary: this set of guidelines has been put together in an effort to make clear the rules and procedures pertinent to your job performance. It is your responsibility to understand its contents. If you have any questions, please ask one of the managers for clarifications. Always remember that Roth Tyson's Corner 8 Theaters is a business establishment. If employees always act in a highly professional manner, the theater is not a place for social gatherings of its staff and their friends. When on duty, you should discourage your friends from calling and visiting because it threatens your job. When off duty, you may sign in to check your schedule or see a movie. You should not, however, hang around the theater or interfere with those working. One of the things about coming to see a movie, yeah, you could do it when it's during slow times, but you didn't want to do that during sold-out movies. They wouldn't let you do that. By doing so, you once again threaten your job as well as others. Please make every effort to keep these guidelines in mind. So that's basically what was handed out by Mark Madison. He made this thing pretty scientific, but that's kind of what what it was like working at the theater back in those days. And that theater finally closed down. It was Lowe's, and I think changed its own. It finally closed down, I think 1998. I have that on the Roth Theaters former employees Facebook page, all information on when it opened, when it closed, and I have that copy this on the page as well, but I thought I would go ahead and read this thing and just do a commentary on it. And I enjoyed doing it. It brought back a lot of memories, and it's be interesting for anybody that worked there, that I worked with, or anybody that worked during the 30 years ago, how different rules and regulations were. And as always, thanks for watching.